Joining me as he does every Wednesday, wordsmith and broadcaster Kel Richards. Well, we're going to get into some words in a moment, Kel, but we're going to have to talk about our accents because I have to say, forgive me, Dad, my long departed dad, my accent's probably a little bit sharper than my dad's. He had a very laid back Australian accent, but it's nowhere near as neat and tidy as my grandparents. But our accents don't always stay static, do they?
No, they do change, and there's been some research. Debbie Lokes of the University of Melbourne has done some research showing that famous Victorian business of confusing L and Al, so celery becomes salary, is disappearing. It's disappearing particularly among younger people in the north of the state while remaining stable in the south of the state. A small change, because that's all that happens is small changes. Felicity is Professor of Linguistics at Macquarie University. She says the old divisions of accents, which used to be broad Australian, general Australian and cultivated Australian, she says that's no longer relevant.
Oh, sorry, and South Australian. And South Australian, they have their own accents.
Yes. But can I say, all of this research misses the main point. And this is the big thing to know about the Australian accent. There are actually very, very few variations. They're relatively minor. You compare our range of accents with America, Louisiana, Texas, Brooklyn, totally different. In Britain, Yorkshire, Cockney, Mancunian. So we've actually got a great similarity of voice with only relatively minor differences. And I've drawn a conclusion from that. I think our voice, our Australian voice, tells us about Australian people. We have only minor variations in our accent, and I think our Australian people are unified, just as the accent is unified. We've only got small range of variations in our values, as we have in our voices, which is why when people try to divide Australians, they always fail. Now, maybe I'm drawing too big a conclusion from the accent, but it's a socio-linguistic fact. Yeah. It's a fact. We are a unified people. We're all Aussies.
Let's get a couple of words in if we can, or phrases in this case. Touch wood. Bev wants to know, where's touch wood come from?
It's only recorded from the 1829, 1830 in children's games, but it's almost certainly been part of folklore for a lot longer than that. It goes back to the Middle Ages when it was believed that trees were inhabited by spirits called dyads, and if you touched the tree or knocked on the tree, Americans say knock on wood, then you would get the spirit to look after you. So, a very ancient superstition.
Peter wants to know where real McCoy comes from.
There's a fabulous story about this, claiming it comes from an American boxer, the Kid McCoy, who was welterweight champion from 1998 to 1990, and he used to get into fights, defending himself as being the real McCoy. It's a lovely story. It's too good to be true, and it's not true. It turns out the original is Scottish. It was originally the real Macquarie, recorded from 1856, and it's what they said about whiskey. A drop of the real Macquarie, which was the slogan for a distillery company in Edinburgh from about 1870. So it was actually the real Macquarie and a bit of whiskey to begin with.
And here I was thinking it had something to do with the Hatfields and McCoys, but there you go. You know it all. You're wonderful, Kel Richards. Thank you.